You're watching the Matt to Matt Show, where we talk about... Excuse me.
Exactly 15 seconds, we'll be on the air.
You're watching the Matt to Matt Show, where we talk about... where we talk about everything that's important to you. From science and technology to pop culture and social commentary. Featuring your hosts, Right Matt, Left Matt, and the disembodied voice of Joe. This is where the conversation begins. Now let's have a chat. Matt to Matt. Hello and welcome back to the Matt to Matt podcast. So glad you could join us. I'm your host, Right Matt. Joining me as always is your host, Left Matt.
Yo!
And as usual, in his posh library filled with many leather-bound books is the disembodied voice of Joe.
Good evening.
Here on the show, we like to approach all of our topics from as many angles as possible to cover our topics as completely and thoroughly and as unbiased as we can. If you feel at all we fail to do that, the chat box is right there. We do have it on screen. Call us out and we'll discuss it. That's the whole reason we're here. Now let's have a chat. Matt to Matt.
You guys are invited too, though, don't worry.
What's that? Oh. Yeah, you know what I mean. They know what I mean. You know what I mean, right? They know what I mean. I don't know if you guys noticed, but it was another sad week in the news this week. How long ago was the Las Vegas shooting? It was like less than a month, wasn't it? Seems sad.
I'd say it was not sure.
Yeah, so here we are again with another sad story in the news of evil people doing evil things. Hey, we got 7 in the chat. Well, 7
October
watching.
1st.
We have 7 watching, but not necessarily in the chat. Hey, feel free to chat along with us so that we can have a better discussion.
It was October 1st, the Las
October
Vegas
1st.
shooting.
Oh, okay, so, just barely. All right, so we're going to be talking about that a little bit tonight, about guns. I know that the main topic everybody wants to talk about is gun control. I actually saw a meme on my Facebook today that said, hey, that Second Amendment was written during the same constitutional convention when they decided black people were 3/5 of a person, so maybe we should revisit it. That kind of logic just makes me sad. That's bad logic. First Amendment, should we revisit that too? How about cruel and unusual punishment? Is that 4th or 5th? Should we revisit that too?
It's neither. I think it's 8th.
8th? Which one's 4th or 5th?
4th
Unlawful
is unreasonable search and seizure, and 5th is I'd like to plead the 5th. You don't have to criminate yourself.
The 5th Amendment. I would like to plead the 5th. No unnecessary torture.
That's right.
Cruel
Lois
and unusual
Lerner
punishment?
pleaded the 5th something like 27 times.
Is it pleaded the 5th or pled the 5th? Because I know pled.
You plead.
You plead.
Don't
You
be a
plead. Is
filthy
it plead or pleb?
Yeah.
Funny. Hey, everybody in the chat. Constantine, so nice to see us.
I love the bigger hero. Chainsaw bayonets.
Oh my! Did you see that?
No, that's clever. Oh, you didn't come up with it?
It's a thing. Yeah. Like I said, gun control. It's such a polarizing topic because, as I've heard several people say, and I think it's pretty true, you have one side of the argument, which is gun owners and people who know what they're talking about, and other people who aren't quite sure what they're talking about, but know that they're scared, and so so
gun owners. That, I think, breaks the spirit of our kind of conversation we want to invite here. I think what you just insinuated was gun owners know what they're talking about.
Call me
people
out
who
on
don't know gun owners don't know what they're talking about. That's what that sounded like to me.
To a degree, I appreciate the opportunity to clarify. People who say you don't need a background check to buy a gun, or there's loopholes to do it, obviously have never bought a gun and gone through the process of the long and arduous process here in New Jersey. It's like it takes up to a year just to purchase a self-defense shotgun, as Joe Biden wants everybody to buy a shotgun. It takes a year to get that extremely destructive, hard to handle, just spray fire weapon that apparently is a good
So
idea.
it seems, in your experience, anecdotally, like the level of information a person has about gun laws is inversely related to the amount of outrage they have over gun laws.
Well, anyone arguing, well, we need background checks, obviously doesn't know that they're already laws.
Well, the
on books.
gun show loophole. You can just go up, buy a gun at a gun show.
I saw a headline. Man, I forget where it was now. But now that you bring that up, I saw a headline that said the shooter in Sutherland, Texas, got his gun through the domestic abuse loophole, in quotes.
I don't get it.
Well, apparently, when you're charged with spousal abuse or any sort of domestic violence, when you're in the military, they try you in the military, and it's not listed the same way on a background check as a normal domestic abuse charge would be. And so when you run a background check on him, it doesn't ping with any in the national FBI database that he has a conviction that would bar him from owning a firearm, because that doesn't pop up that way. Do you have anything that falls in this category? No. They don't say, oh, we have this other one that doesn't, right? And then they look at it and go, oh, actually, no, just because it's not listed under that hashtag or whatever. So, yeah, that's the loophole. They actually looked in the database, and do you know how many the military military tribunals had published? I keep using word. This is the best language I have for the process. They sent out to the FBI database one of all of the domestic violence cases they've tried and convicted. One. All of those should be sent out to bar people from buying. So people who say, we need background checks. No, we need bureaucrats who can do their job correctly.
Speaking of language and words.
Qualified bureaucrat sounds like, yeah, he did remind me. He said, this is the best language I have. I would like to help Matt and all of our audience. That's you.
Yes.
Learn more of your
language. I wanted
language
to start with that.
with our
I was
word of
listing
the
what we're going to
day.
be doing today. We're going to be starting with the word of the day instead of ending with it like
Here,
we
I'll
usually
pull it up on
do.
my screen.
Go for it. For the purpose of having it to hopefully practice and to work into the conversation.
Hey, don't use that
today,
sarcastic voice. That's for real. Salient
No, it's
is
absolutely
the word of the day.
It's absolutely so that we can practice it, but it seemed silly the way I was portraying it.
No, I got you. But I take my words seriously. So here it goes. It's on my screen. You can pull it up.
Okay, hold on. I got a new keyboard today, and I was gonna switch it because it's not. Uh-oh.
What happened?
I
Did
don't know.
disconnect?
Yeah, try popping up again. Because it's quiet. And,
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we go. It's not mechanical, but then I was like, no, I like the sound of me clacking away on the show. So I had the opportunity to remove that sound from our show, and I chose not to. So just know that. F11.
Right.
Hold on, let me make sure.
Yeah, so the purpose of having the word of the day this early in the episode is to help you guys really learn the word, because
Zoom
that's
in
how
a bit.
you want. Serious? All right.
Yeah, zoom in.
Yeah, no, so I would encourage you to try to use it during the conversation we'll have during this episode. But the word is salient, meaning most noticeable or important. And that's pretty much the way it's used. That's the most common meaning. But, I guess it also refers to a piece of land that juts out to form an angle, peninsular type.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, don't worry about it. Salient means it's the most important or most noticeable. So, as we're about to see, the salient object on this gun is going to be the chainsaw bayonet. So let's check that out.
All right, hold on. Let me 2, 3. All right, let me pop this screen over real quick. Yeah. So who was it? Beggar Hero who said this?
Mm-hmm. Well, he brought it up first. Yeah.
Yeah. Bam. This was an
for
actual
zombies.
legit. Yeah, this was a legit thing. USA Today. Look at the gun used in the Texas church shooting. They were showing a bunch of possible modifications. They had I think it was a ratchet trigger with a little spindle on it, so it like clacks the trigger over and over again, so you can shoot quickly, which is a real thing. They had a shotgun mount under the bottom. I think they call that a master key because it's usually used for breaching doors. You stick the shotgun barrel straight to the lock, blast the lock off, and then you have your M16 for M4. Sorry. What year is this? M4 to go in and breach, as law enforcement do. However, a chainsaw bayonet, I don't think is a real thing. I thought this was a joke. No, this actually played on their website as a little like, here's things you can do. If that's
Is this suggestions for future killers?
suggestions for future killers, I don't think so.
It looks more like zombie apocalypse preparedness.
How does that
Yeah,
work?
it looked like a zombie
Is it electric?
thing, yeah.
It must be electric because there's no gas tank and no ripcord. You imagine being like, hold on, hold on. Oh, it's out of gas. Wait. Like, seriously,
That's not a gas
so
sound.
impractical.
Glug, glug, glug is the gas sound.
It's a tiny gas can. It'd be a tiny little gas can that big with a little nozzle.
It sounds like a hamster
I was
drip.
gonna say, it sounds like a hamster biting it. Whatever.
Dude, that's
Whatever.
that's savage. That's really not like a joke account.
Would you really be comfortable
It's not.
having gas that close to?
No,
It's
to
even
fire?
more
No.
deadly of a weapon.
Yeah. So that's. Thanks for bringing that up, Beggar Hero, I guess. All right. As usual, just keep trolling. That is a. It used to mean like patrolling, but keep viewing the chat for specific salient points.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, is that a thing? Is that a good use? Is that
I mean,
a thing?
it's most, so there's only going to be one salient point. Whoever gets the salient point
At a
gets
time.
the gold star.
At a time.
Yeah,
And
I
then the
guess
next
you're right.
salient point, you gotta
Confined
top
to a
it.
certain time
Everybody's gotta
period.
top it.
But for the yeah, there you go. Salient notion. I think we're getting off the hey, whatever. As long as you remember the word, that's what's important.
Beggar Hero says suggestion for my new 40K cosplay.
Very nice. So we're going to start with the word of the day, and then we're going to let Joe do his usual interesting headlines from the week. We can discuss real quick. We will get back on and dive deep into the our topic of the evening toward the end, so that we don't miss out on all of Joe's interesting things. I just wanted to share this real quick because I forget who said it, but it brought this to mind. This is a weird headline: a step-by-step guide to gun violence in America. Is that like
It's
a
an
how-to?
opinion piece.
Yeah, but it sounds
Yeah,
like a
it's
how-to.
step by step. Sounds like how
A
to.
guide
yeah.
to how to gun violence in America.
Not
Anyway,
even like step by step
it's
guide to understanding
Exactly.
gun violence. It's like
step by step. Here's how to gun violence. I thought maybe it was a sarcastic post about that. First, obtain a firearm without a background check. But actually, it's shooting happens, outrage, thoughts and prayers. People get upset about thoughts and prayers. Other people complain that they're attacking Christianity. It's one of those kind of articles. It was pretty good, but we're not going to go over it today. All right.
Do you think more Christians are the targets? No, I was just curious. Well, I was just thinking, like, there have been other church shootings. This just popped in my head. Do you think there have been more Christians in general that have been the targets of shootings than atheists? Sorry, but let's keep going. Let's
Or
keep rolling.
Muslims.
That's
You
not the salient point
but
in this
do you mean-
conversation.
but do you mean intentionally?
Yes.
Like if you went to like the Nice truck attack and we're like, okay, which ones of you are Christians, and then tallied like that? That obviously not. They weren't targeted because they were Christians. You're saying people who were targeted specifically for being Christian?
What? Yeah, I'm saying, do people who want to kill other people in general want to kill Christians, or in
Gotcha.
general want to kill more?
So you mean intentionally killing Christians? Not
Yeah, because they're
accidentally.
because everybody hates Christians these days. There's such a negative view of them in
Yep.
I mean in the movies and media, in casual conversation. You
On
know?
Twitter.
You know, atheists are proven.
Your thoughts and prayers, if they worked, then people wouldn't be dead in a church. You guys.
Yeah, I don't know,
Your
maybe.
thoughts and prayers. Will Wheaton said that. If thoughts and prayers worked, Rand Paul.
You wouldn't have 5 broken ribs.
Yeah, yeah. To which someone said, "Hey, it's nice to see Hollywood take the day off from raping each other to condemn thoughts and prayers."
All right, let's move it on. Joe, you got
Jojo.
something good.
Boom.
Oh, right.
Like
Well,
we said, we'd give him the
mentioned-
time that we
we
did. So
mentioned
here's the time, Joe.
zombies.
All right.
We mentioned zombies.
Hey, I like
I did.
Okay, so Supernova is star exploding.
How cool! That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just saying, if you didn't know.
Well, we discovered a supernova that has exploded multiple times.
He like ignited other stars and made the explosion bigger.
is it like one of those
It's the
multi-stage
same-
firecrackers?
Same star. Maybe.
Or fireworks, I guess.
I
not
guess it would be
firecrackers.
comparable.
comparable if you're British?
But yeah, normally what happens is at most it's like 100 days where it's in the the bright glowy stage where you can see it and it looks amazing.
Scroll up a bit. I want to see that
Um,
picture again. Is that real? Or they usually are like, we saw a supernova, and here's an artist rendering. You know?
Well, I don't think it's an artist rendering, but it may not be a picture of the actual one that they looked at.
Okay.
It just says image source ESO, so I don't know. But yeah, usually it's like a 100-day period. This one,
That's it?
this one had a 600-day period. Like the highest they've seen is 100 days. This one was like 600 days, and they had records of the same star exploding.
So it wasn't all of the explosions
years
combined with 600. This is one of the many explosions.
Yes, has so
left
much, so much energy that keeps on going.
Dang.
Yeah, they said it was observed back in 1954, like a supernova, and then then it exploded again in 2014.
Are they sure it didn't just happen to be in the same spot?
Okay. Yeah, they checked.
All right, I trust them. They are the astrologers.
Astronomers.
Thank you.
Big difference. Astronomy came from astrology.
Yeah, that's true. Not the other way
But
around.
it's definitely a different subject. Yeah, so there's several different theories, but they're not sure. They think it's actually dead this time, but they don't know. It may.
Sorry, that just sounds funny.
Come back.
That was a big
Like
explosion. I
like
think it
a
might be
zombie.
dead this time.
Like a
Whoa,
zombie,
no.
yeah.
No, it wasn't dead. Yeah, always double tap. Like a zombie. Zombie supernova comes back for more.
Yeah, they think down here it says one possible explanation the researchers came up with is that the star's mass and heat were enough that it actually created antimatter within its own core, leading to its incredibly unpredictable nature. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think it's. I say this every time you bring up stuff about space, but I still think it's interesting that we are looking all the way out there and like notating about what explodes multiple times way out there, and then we still don't know what's at the bottom of the ocean. So, just saying. Why
I read something.
We really
It's
should.
nice when we have light delivered to us.
No, it's
From
cheating. We're like,
sources.
we just look
That is a
up
good
and it
point,
all
yeah.
comes down to us. We can just come on, get brave. Seas are only going to get higher, and it's going to get harder to look that low. So,
Yeah, we actually have robotic telescopes. Like you can just
yeah, they tell it to follow a spot, and it like moves. With,
like you just give it a schedule. Like it'll just, hey, look at this thing. This thing automatically came up and was noted, and they'll just like several different telescopes around the world will start looking at it and gathering data for them.
Gotcha.
We also have a
Interesting.
system. Yeah, we also have a system in place because you can only look at things for so long before the Earth rotates and you can't see it anymore because it's the Earth's blocking the field of view. So we actually have in the same line of longitude.
Longitude is up and down. Latitude's
Latitude then.
left. What?
Equatorial.
Latitude is away from the equator. Longitude is away from Greenwich, England.
Okay, so it is longitude. Okay, yeah, longitude is horizontal. Yeah, horizontal. If you're looking at the globe, we have a way to get around that. Is there's observatories in like South America, Africa, and Australia. I think.
Is it a system of telescopes?
Yeah.
What is it? Do you know what it's called? Or is it just like they each operate independently but collaborate?
I did know what it was called. What do you mean by independently? Like, oh, you mean like different organizations and then they shared? I think it's
Sure.
I think it's the same organization. owns them.
Okay, just to be
So-
clear, by the way, longitude, latitude.
Oh, okay. Latitude.
Okay.
Same line of latitude.
Right.
Wait, which way is a platitude?
Nothing. Platitude is meaningless.
Yeah, that's kind of what it means.
it is. It's
Just by the way, I'm really digging the chat. I was just briefly going over the chat just now. Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. That the fedora means on point. So salient neckbeard. There was another one.
so you just interrupted
Yes.
to compliment the chat.
Yes, we were done with that topic.
Good chat. Good chat.
No, we Amor Pizza asked, do we get bonus points for using this word through the conversation? And the answer is yes. Yes, you do. I don't know in what form they will come, but yeah, bonus points will be
Dogecoin.
awarded. Dogecoin. You'll get Dogecoin.
Oh, what is Dogecoin at?
less close to nothing,
I
but
hope
only
so.
just slightly.
Whoa! It's up to 50 cents. That's actually a lot.
No way.
It really is.
Wait, from what?
Wait, maybe I'm wrong.
You are wrong. It's a 50th of a cent.
Dude, you do your thing.
All right. Anyway, all right. What's up next for us?
Oh yeah, you're right. It's 1/1000th of a cent. No, it's a 10th of a cent. I'm an idiot. But it's up 13% today. If you put $1 in Dogecoin today, you'd
You
have
would've got 13 more
$13
cents.
if you were smart enough to sell. But it's probably going to be worth like nothing tomorrow.
13% is 13 pennies from $1.
Oh.
Does Dogecoin fluctuate a lot?
No. 113.
113%.
Yeah. So you'd have $2.13.
That's what I'm saying. You get
I'm
13
wrong.
cents.
He's right. He's correct.
I just wanted
in
to
my-
best you in a money thing.
In
and
my
I feel better.
excitement over Dogecoin. I
Next,
got
I'll
it
be
wrong.
explaining to Joe. No, Pluto's actually planet again. If you didn't know, it's not.
You can't see, but Joe's pointing at me.
Yeah. What did I do?
What's pointing at him?
I thought he had something to. Like
Did
a
you? Oh, okay.
segment.
Yes, of course. Matt wanted to share a.
Well, I got like 6 things I want to share. Where do you want me to start at?
I don't know. You want to pop something full screen? I'll bring you up.
All right, yeah. I mean, I guess we just talk about this jetpack. That's pretty cool.
Well, we talked about that actually on the show previously, but not this story. So we brought this guy up before. Where are you?
Yeah.
There you are. Sorry,
Ooh,
I lost you.
he landed in the lake. But it's cool that this is not. Oh wait, sorry. Let's play the video then. I suppose.
Yeah,
Dude, check it out.
What's it
Just
say?
This I just saw it on Twitter. So this real life Iron Man suit just broke a world record. Inventor Richard Browning broke the record for the fastest speed achieved in a body controlled jet engine power suit when he soared to 32.02 miles per hour in the suit.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's legit. I mean, the first one I saw was one with like a big tube in the water, using like sucking water out and then pushing out. But this is legit like an Iron Man suit.
Yeah, we brought this on the show. I brought this up on the show before, like months ago. But he was just like he took off, and then like moved 10 feet and landed. Like,
Yeah.
he was not
He's
doing
been
this.
practicing.
He was not
Yes.
doing
It's
this.
just on his hands, no feet.
Is it just on his hands, no feet?
I know. I can't. It's really.
I think
small,
I
so
think
I
it's
can't see
both.
it.
I'm not sure. I think he steadies with his hands and flies
Oh.
with his feet,
Hello.
levitates with his feet. That looked inappropropriate.
Where is it?
Hollywood, what you gonna
there we
do?
go.
Here he is.
I
No.
think it's just his hands.
Yeah, just his hands.
It's a
Man,
GoPro.
can you
I'd like
imagine
to
the
see
upper
that
body
camera.
strength you need to like?
It has flames.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I can't. Well, I can imagine it.
it's
but
like doing the iron cross on the rings that they do gymnastics. The iron cross. Do you know what the iron cross is?
I don't know the Iron Cross. I know the
It's
rings.
where, yeah, it's where they're on the rings and then they like hold their arms straight out. I can't do it or I'll hit
Is
you
he
in the
holding
face.
his arm straight out?
No, but it's like that because they're pushing up on it. It's more than your body weight hanging down. So if you had your arms halfway out, but then like there was like thrust going on there, it seems like it would be.
It's pretty impressive.
Wait.
One, that he invented it. That's
No,
neat.
you would only have your body weight on it. It wouldn't be pushing you up more than your body weight, or you'd be going upward. Never mind. It's exactly like holding your arms halfway
So
out. It's
you made a
nothing like
mistake?
it's nothing like the Iron Cross.
You made a mistake?
My bad.
Man, that evens it out. We're even then. Good.
Okay. Amor Pizza. You only get points if you use it properly. He's salient there, depicted in a leaping pasture. Yes, absolutely the case. Phew.
It's like a hay penny. I don't understand. What's a hay penny?
I don't know. I think he was talking about another cryptocurrency. What were you talking about, Baker?
Oh.
Tell us.
Oh, dude, we even have the next thing I wanted to talk about up on the screen. Haha, I'm dominating. Oh,
How about
it's
that?
not showing up. That's it. There it is. So whenever people say, whenever Donald Trump takes credit for this huge stock market rally, and this is just one index, just the S&P 500, but whenever
Sorry,
he takes,
you gotta zoom those in a bit.
what are you talking about?
Just because it's a small section of the screen, and so all the text gets all. We can't read the. Yeah, there you go. That's better. Yeah, here we go. Oh wow. Okay, so these are S&P 500 gain during Trump's first year. Wait, Trump's first years?
Read the whole thing. Well, no, I'll tell you. It's my thing. So this is
Go
an
for it.
index of the stock market. It's 500 of the biggest market cap companies. 500 of the biggest companies in the United States that are publicly traded. And there has been a rally under Donald Trump, under his first year. I mean, that's like a milestone. You know, he's been president for a year. And I didn't hear it myself, but I
Then
believe he's been taking
Oh.
disproportionate, amounts of credit for this thing that while he was running for president, he called the stock market is a big, fat, ugly bubble. And now he's been saying, hey, look, under the enthusiasm and optimism that's being promoted by my being, elected president, it's the biggest stock market rally. And he's wrong. It's not true. Well, so this chart just shows that the first year, and like I said, the S&P is just one measurement, but it's a steady measurement. It's been going for a while. Yeah, so he's third. So don't let anybody say that Donald Trump had the biggest S&P rally.
I don't know. Barack Obama's was. Oh wait, bigger is better. Bigger is better.
Yeah, just if you like bigger, like stocks are a price. If you like the price to be higher, then yeah, I guess it's a good thing.
But I mean, if you look Barack Obama's, apparently, you can just blame that on Bush, right?
You can blame anything on anybody. It doesn't matter. I blame you for my hair.
You can do that.
There's too much of it.
Speaking of hair, I hope you guys are all participating in No Shave November. I am. I think Matt is too, but
yeah, no, thanks.
He's not. But yeah, that's why the try. I'm gonna give it a try, and so I apologize for the next 3 weeks of the show. Is might get a bit
hairy.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say it. I was like, there's got to be a better word to use. Constantine clarified, "Hey, penny is half a penny." So you're done showing the list?
That's our show.
Right
Yep,
okay.
Done with the list.
Awesome. Actually, I'm conflicted on that, and I'd like your opinion and everybody else's. While yes, it is hypocritical of him to be like, oh, the stock market, it's just growing artificially and it's going to burst, and then taking credit for how it grows as if that was now a positive thing. People are saying, well, we're still dealing off the fiscal year of last year when Barack Obama was president, right? But the stock market goes up and down according to like what's happening that day, does it not?
It's not restricted to that.
Like AMD sells off like not sells off their stock. I forget. AMD did something. They make graphics cards, and like the next day their stock just like plummeted, and it's like, why did they plummet tomorrow? Because of what happened today. If the stock market today is now based on what happened during Obama. I thought the stock market was more like in real time. Is it not that in real time to be able to blame policies that Trump's like, hey, new tax plan, and everybody's like, yay, and the stock market rallies? Is that not how that works?
If I knew, I wouldn't be here. I'd be in the Bahamas if I knew the answer. But it's based on many things, and that's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so largely people say stock prices are based on earnings. Like the amount of money the company is pulling in versus the amount of money people expect the money to pull in.
Gotcha.
Is a huge driver of, oh, wow, they didn't make any money. This stock, and the stock typically goes down after that.
Gotcha. Yeah, Beggar Hero is 2 cents. Basically, Wall Street will do good if no one gives mixed signals. So, what did it do just after the election last year? I forget. Was it like right before the election it like started to go down? Pop. And then right after the election everybody was like, whew, and it popped right back up. Right?
Pretty sure. I don't know the number, but I'm pretty sure.
Is that a good word to use when talking about stock market?
What?
It popped.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just a big bubble. No. It popped. Did it pop or did it pop?
I see your point.
Yeah, it confused me when you said that the other day. You were like, that Bitcoin pop. And I was like, oh, no. Bitcoin bubble popped.
That's clever. It's good that you have bubbles on the mind, though. Bubbles on the brain? No, those aren't healthy.
Bubble brain. No, those aren't. Have those looked at. Just like Brexit. Exactly. When big things happen, the stock market changes bits and pieces. So, all right. Well, look, it's half past.
2 bits to a quarter, right? A quarter's 2 bits.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, while we're on it, I want to share this. Yeah. I even exited on my computer, but just so everybody can sleep well tonight, Equifax year over year. So the third quarter of 2016. Mm-hmm. Versus the third quarter that we just... So like I said, earnings season is a huge driver of prices. They're actually up today. Sorry. But Equifax, the company that had a breach of 145 million customers' private information, their profits for this quarter are down from they're down to $96.3 million from $132 million from last quarter. So, it's substantial. And they estimated that...
Good.
Although... Oh, I forget. They estimated that $85 million of expenses that weren't there last quarter are here now. They spent $85 million based on offering credit, what is it called? Credit tracking services to customers and litigation. So there you go. They're being punished for their bad behavior.
By the
If
government?
it makes you feel any better. Well, partially by the government, lawsuits and such, and also
Wait, lawsuits from the government?
I don't know.
Lawsuits from people.
Litigation. The
Okay.
article just said litigation. I'd imagine both. I'd imagine private and public.
So like through normal like market, customers and employers and providers or whatever you want to call them, businesses. The relationships that customers have with businesses is acting out the way it should, and they're punishing these people naturally without the government needing to step in and dismantle them. I'm saying, is this capitalism at work, or is the government being like, we'll save you from Equifax? Or is the government giving them contracts, no bid contracts? I forget. Which one was it?
Both. It seems that way.
All right.
I'm getting mixed signals.
Uh-oh. I hear that's bad for the stock market. All right. The market is either bear or bull. Well, bigger hero. You see, that's the only reason. No, but that's a reason. It's a good reason why Left Matt is on the show, because these are things that I'm not particularly up on, and he is. So,
Well, it's just the news I follow.
Specialize.
exactly, you're up on. You're keeping up on. So basically, that was the pound. Yep. It wasn't the stock market; it was the pound. Thanks for clarifying, Constantine. All right, we're gonna jump into our topic for today. Just let me check.
Get one of our topics.
Skipping Poland.
Did you want to do Poland?
I don't know. No. We'll do it when
Save it
we
for
do
the
the
end.
babies thing. People in Europe aren't having kids. There you go. White people in Europe aren't having kids.
Really?
Yep.
That's crazy, man.
Stay
I
tuned
don't
for
have-
next Thursday
I don't have
when we'll
that up.
maybe talk about babies.
Maybe.
I heard the movie is good. Baby Driver. It has Kevin Spacey in it. I didn't even think about that. But
Yeah.
my coworker said it was actually really good, so I want to see that.
Speaking of Kevin Spacey, we're gonna bring him back up in just a minute, but we're gonna go right now to a Newsweek article because that seems like a good idea. So it's from actually wrong button. It's from last month, the day after the Las Vegas shooting, where it says there's a mass shooting almost every day in the U.S. Whoa. Scrolling down. Let's see. Down here, it talks about, obviously, the big ones, the most killed. It has them ranked to the top, however many this is. U.S. mass shootings, Las Vegas, 50-plus people. Orlando, 50 killed. Virginia Tech, 32.
What, they don't have the specific
Sandy Hook,
number?
27. What?
They don't have the number for Las Vegas? It's 50
Not
plus?
yet. Well, people are still, might die from complications. I'm not sure when they actually...
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Oh, I just hate it when mass shootings get ranked by number of people killed.
Well, when you're trying to
bothers me.
politicize something, you make it as obvious as possible how...
I know. Why don't they use number of bullets? Dollars of property damage. I don't know.
They do say mass
You
shooting,
just-
not mass
you
killing.
Just do by most recent. I don't see it.
I thought this was, and
I
I'm
see
like,
your point. I see your
Orlando,
point,
then
Joe.
Virginia Tech. I was like, there was none between Virginia Tech and Orlando. No, you're right. 32 kill. It's like,
it's not a high score.
it's like
game,
leaderboards.
yeah.
This is not supposed to be
Yeah.
the leaderboards.
But I think that speaks to Matt's point, though, about the bigger it get, just headlines, sell,
Yep.
sell, news.
That's actually going to be
Newsweek. We're
Yep.
on Newsweek.
That's actually going to be the point I'm going to bring up here in a sec.
Okay.
So this is illustrated well by this list. Sandy Hook, 27. Where is that?
You see her, though.
Is that... Oh, 1984. That's why I haven't heard of that one, because anything before the year I was born doesn't matter, right? No. San Bernardino in 2015, 14 killed. Edmonton, 14. Fort Hood, 13.
San Diego.
Columbine, 13. There have been more than 11,600 deaths linked to gun violence so far in 2017, which is roughly equivalent to nearly 4.
How many of those are suicides?
Oh, they kind of lump those all together. It's usually about 2/3 of gun deaths or suicides, statistically year to year from I think 2001
Jeez, who
through
wrote
2013. Yeah, equivalent to nearly 4 9/11 attacks. Not that we're comparing 9/11 to gun violence, because
But no, it's
in
like a
terms-
standard measurement, though.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like
huge.
pound, foot,
It's like
9/11
horsepower.
attack.
It's like how many horses will it take to get to the moon? How many 9/11s did we do this year? Gun violence. In terms of the total number killed in September 11th, 2001. Yeah, we know what that means. Comparatively, more than 15,000 were killed by gun violence in 2016. And there were 383 mass shootings. You guys remember hearing about all the mass shootings, right? No. It's I think it's 4 or more people die in gun-related violence. So like gang killings when a drug deal goes wrong, mass shooting. Gun violence is a staple of American life. Remember that point.
But how many more die when drug deals go right? Sorry.
Gun
You
violence.
made me
Says
think
the
about that.
libertarian.
You made me think about that.
Maybe if you live like in a bad city. I mean,
Then what?
it's not a staple of
Staple of American life.
American life.
I don't think so, but like I said, we'll come back to that point. The U.S. ranks number 1 in the world in terms of firearms per capita, meaning we have the most guns in America. I think it's like 7 guns per person is the amount of guns we have in America.
I love averages.
Did they keep
Averages
it?
it's the mode.
Who's
Right?
got the stockpile?
Is this including the military though?
Like there's one
Does
guy
this
with
include
10,000
military, like where they just have like
I doubt it. It
thousands
probably
of- I
means
doubt
private
it.
ownership.
With 88.8 guns per 100 people. That is not the stat I saw the other day. So I'm wondering where they got that from. And it has the highest homicide by firearm rate in the developed world. So we have the most guns and the highest firearm rate. So that luckily correlates a bit.
We also have the most wheat and the most bread, probably.
Corn.
You know?
Jersey's the number 1 provider of corn. At least it was in 2004
Like
when
the
I moved
band?
here.
And tomatoes.
And tomatoes, lots of things. Anyway, Garden State. The problem is so endemic that gun violence is now the 3rd leading cause of death for children. Children in the U.S., an average of 1,297 children die annually from gun-related injuries, according to a June 2017 study published in the Journal of
Does
Pediatrics.
this include abortion?
I love it. Oh.
Gun-related injuries. I don't think abortion's a gun-related
No, I
injury.
mean, is it on the list of like? Would that be at number 1 of the list?
I doubt they listed that, but that's a good question. Google leading causes of death of children in the U.S.
that
because
is
I'm curious what the first 2 are. I didn't see that. I followed the link to this study. I'm going to try and throw it in the chat later. But essentially, if you boil it down, I read the whole thing. When you boil it down, children, they're talking about anyone under the age of 17. And a vast majority, close to 90% of those that they say that children die annually from gun-related injuries were over the age of 13. About 80% of those were killed by other kids around their age, 13 to 17. Vast majority of those were in Illinois, Chicago, California, LA, and Louisiana, New Orleans. In the street with a handgun, minorities. So when they say 1,300 children die annually from gun-related injuries, my first thought is children playing with a gun, kids caught in drive-by shootings. What they're actually talking about is teenage gang violence in the inner city where minorities are shooting each other on street corners with guns. Seems a bit misleading to say that many children die when most of those are tried as adults. Guns are linked to roughly
Wait. Before we go further.
1,000 deaths in the U.S., and this is as far as I want to get in this article, and then we'll make some comparisons. 33,000 deaths in the U.S. per year, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, which is interesting because I didn't know gun was a disease, but it can probably be controlled and prevented. About 2/3 of them are suicides. So about 11,000 deaths, generally. Correct? Is that good math on that? What did you want to bring up before I move on?
What percent of Americans are African Americans, would you guess? What statistic do you think?
13.6, 13.3?
12.6.
12.6.
Let's call it 13%, though. Sorry.
13%.
That just, I mean, really sets a... I've heard that stat many times, mostly from Thomas Sowell, though, about the number of homicides committed, like the percent of homicides committed by black people in the United States versus the number of Americans that are black.
Hey, but white people commit more murder than
Question.
black people as
you,
a whole.
Are you including like everyone with dark skin as black people and as African Americans?
However,
However,
like,
they're
however they
listed by the-
self-identify.
yeah.
However they identify.
does not include like
which group of people
Latinos
are you
and
talking about?
things like that. FBI statistics on African Americans, however, those are listed by the FBI.
The Gallup
Their
poll from...
statistics. I don't know. That's a very good question. Do you think there's more or less?
Well, I mean, if you're just talking about people from Africa versus a subset that includes.
I
People
think
with
it
dark
has
skin
more
or
to
from
do with
other-
heritage than like
other
nationality.
heritages.
Not sure. But yeah, the interesting thing is numbers. You can look at them however you'd like to, and some people on one side of the argument say, well, white people commit more crime as a whole, and other people say, yes, well, it's like 53% of the crime, and they're like 70% of the population, so they actually commit less than their fair share. So people go back and forth on those depending on whether you want to look at percentage per capita or actual whole numbers. It's like 400,000 murders versus 100,000 or whatever the numbers actually are. What was
the age, the age range for children that I'm looking up leading causes of death?
13 to 17. Let me make sure I have that right.
13 to 17.
Well, actually, the total study was 0 to 17.
Oh, 0 to 17.
But they separated into categories of below 12 or 13, I forget, and then above that.
Okay.
And most of the deaths were above that.
According to census.gov.
Yeah. According to the stats they quoted, is what I'm saying. This is what they refer to as children being killed by firearms.
Sorry, that's the response to the question of my stat. So, according to census.gov, black or African American alone. So, whether you identify as strictly African American or
Is that
like
the
variant of black, I'm not sure how to say that exactly.
Is that
but
following the one drop rule?
I don't know what that means.
Oh, it means if there's any African American in your heritage, you count. You're in the club.
I guess.
No, that's what.
But it's a census. They self-identify.
That's what Sean King.
We
says.
self-identify in a census.
All right.
Okay.
Let's look. Let's just overview what we just talked about. 33,000 firearm deaths a year, right? 22,000 of those are suicides. 11,000 of those are gun violence. Daily, I believe it was 41 firearm deaths a day, generally. Let's compare that real quick to gun violence being a daily part of American life with alcohol-related deaths. Let's just look right off the bat.
What website are we on?
We are on the CDC.
Good.
Center for Disease Control and Prevention. So these numbers are fairly accurate. I'm not sure you could get more legitimate numbers than this. Approximately how many? 88,000 deaths and 2.5 million years of potential life lost each year in the United States from 2016 to 2010, shortening the lives of those who died by nearly an average of 30 years. So gun violence, huge part of American life. It's forefront. And it's an endemic problem, is what they said. Alcohol-related deaths, almost 3 times that much. It does pop up occasionally in the news. Hey, we kind of drink a little too much. But I certainly don't see a lot of people saying, you know what would help bring down the death rate in the United States? This alcohol thing, which serves no self-defense purposes.
Have you heard of a Molotov cocktail?
That's not defense. I'll get to that in a second too. Your comment?
Is there a range where alcohol and gun violence connects?
There is a huge overlap of alcohol and crimes.
I found some leading cause ranks, but they're they're subdivided much further, and I don't see abortion on them, so probably not counted.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, there are hundreds of thousands of children aborted every year, so in the U.S. alone. So if that was listed, it would be by far and away #1 death of children in the U.S. So alcohol, it's legal, it's a thing. I haven't heard a lot of politicians saying we need more alcohol control, or even
I think
it serves no real purpose. We didn't work out very well. It serves no real purpose other than enjoyment, pleasure. Is there a reason there's alcohol except to have fun?
It boosts the economy. People spend money on alcohol. Spending money boosts the economy.
We have a lot of guns.
There we
You know,
go.
guns are
Well, couldn't
expensive.
that money be spent on other more useful
Guns.
things? And wouldn't that make our economy stronger?
Bah.
Heart disease is up there. I'm not sure where heart disease is.
It's actually like right in the middle. It's more up than middle.
But I saw, I forgot to pull that one up. I saw a headline. I think it was in like Health. I forget what news website. It said, "Oh, actually, moderate drinking might lead to these cancers. We're just finding out." Rather than a glass of wine a day is good for heart health, as people have been saying for a lot of years. Smoking's good for you too, haven't you heard? Let's see. What is excessive drinking? It talks about excessive drinking. It talks about moderate drinking. Essentially, the main points I wanted to pull out of this are the fact that, like I said, 3 times the amount of people die each year from something that isn't really like constitutional right or serve any sort of self-defense purpose. However, not only deaths, can you just... I tried to look it up, and the numbers are really difficult to actually nail down. How many domestic abuse cases are from people drinking too much, but drinking? Obviously, people say, well, it's in moderation. Not everyone's a drunk.
Doesn't beat spouses. People beat spouses.
Guns don't kill people.
Yeah, that's what
People
I'm
kill
saying.
people.
Yeah, how much of it is due to alcohol? I don't know. 0%.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly. I'm drawing that comparison. If we can take guns off the streets, people will stop killing each other, right? Well,
No.
if we try and ban all alcohol, people will stop beating each other, right? No. Let's see. Alcohol. There is a stat on here for...
There is no difference between men and women.
Yes.
Binge drinking and heavy drinking is the same.
According to quitalcohol.com.
It's not on this list.
Well, actually, they quote the Journal of American Medical Association. It says that 92% of domestic abusers were abusing alcohol, not just in their lives, but at the time of the incident.
What was that? What percent was that?
92%.
That's very high.
That is
Out
very
of
high.
all domestic abusers, 61% of them have a substance abuse problem, according to the Department of Justice.
Shock. We talked about...
And-
Yes. Sorry, you looked like you were done.
And I just saw this World Health Organization says 11% of all homicides were cases of domestic violence.
Really? Probably some gun homicides too, huh? Guns and alcohol don't mix.
I can't imagine.
Speaking of things and alcohol not mixing, do you know how many people die in drunk driving accidents every year?
Do you know?
Yeah, I thought it was on this list. Almost 10,000. Almost as many as die in gun violence.
What percent of those people were the ones who
That's
were drinking? Is what I wonder.
pedestrian deaths versus driver
We
deaths.
count-
You know?
Yeah,
Innocent bystander.
But as
Bicycle
long
or-
as we're making comparisons, I'm talking about them killing other people, but also the driver obviously is counted with that as well. Just like when the shooter shoots himself in the head, I'm sure that that counts with the gun statistics as well, I would imagine. So as we can see, there's this type of argument that is that says things along the lines of, "Hey, here's a leaderboard for most people killed, really, really bad. So many deaths last year. Gun violence is a staple of American life, and we're the worst. It's the absolute worst thing. And of course, I'm being a little hyperbolic, but as you can see, they say children die annually from gun-related injuries. They don't mention that a lot of that is gang violence in the inner city from teenagers who are tried as adults. They say children. I picture 4 and 5-year-olds. 33,000 deaths in a year. A lot of those are suicides. I'm sure if you're going to put, not to sound callous at all, but I'm sure if you're going to put a gun in your mouth, you could just as easily asphyxiate yourself. It's not like, well, I have a gun, I'll kill myself. I don't, I won't. Speaking of, I have a gun, I'll kill people. You know what else kills a lot of people? Or can? Mass stabbings. This was last year. Japan knife attack. Stabbing at care center leaves 19 dead. That's a lot of people from a weapon you have to... I looked it up. He wasn't throwing them. They weren't throwing stars in Japan. Man armed with knives attacked facility before telling police it is better that disabled people disappear. He was attacking specifically disabled people. Obviously, a deranged psychopath. But I don't know how he got a hold of knives without a background check. Obviously, if someone wants to kill lots of people, they can do it with knives. as well as guns.
Not
Can't
as
make them
effectively,
get
though.
a background check before they do their mass killings.
Speaking of effectively, you're right. You guys remember the Nice attack last year in August?
No,
You guys
Oh.
remember how many people died from that truck? Not the truck, the guy driving the truck.
maybe I do remember.
Truck of Peace made its way down the Bastille Day. Total of 303 people were taken to the hospital, taking a total of 85 lives with a truck. Do you remember our leaderboard for guns? Yeah, up here?
50 plus.
85 people killed, 50 plus people killed. Not even close. Not even
What about
close.
chainsaw bayonets? Where's the leaderboard for that?
My point is not to say, hey, gun violence doesn't matter. But you hear the meme after a truck of peace goes barreling down a dock and kills 85 people and sends 300 plus to the hospital. You hear all the memes of like, hey, it's an assault truck. Why don't we ban assault trucks? But there's truth to that. I'm not saying we should ban them, but there is a certain truth to that irony of someone's going to kill people if they want to kill people. I do not agree a whole lot with President Trump, but a couple times he gets it right. And he was asked when he was in Japan by a reporter, hey, do you think, what's the deal with this guy getting a gun? Do you think are you going to rush to do legislation to make sure people can't get guns now that this guy in Texas killed people? And he said, this is a mental health problem. This isn't necessarily a gun problem. This guy wasn't allowed to have a gun. He got a gun illegally. Bureaucrats messed up their job and he got a gun. The guy was crazy. He had substance abuse problems. And went and enacted violence, not because he had a gun. So that's oh, one more. Wow, there you go. Now you guys can really read it. Here we go. 6 infamous arsonists. Here's what I've always wondered, it sounds like a weird thing to wonder, but if you're going to try and kill lots of people, why is there not more like you said, a Molotov cocktail through a window? If you guys don't know what a Molotov cocktail is, a glass bottle filled with gasoline or some other rapid igniting. There's another word for that, accelerant of fire in a glass bottle, and then an oily rag that you light, and then when you throw it and the bottle smashes, fire everywhere. It's not like walking up to somebody's like building and trying to light a match on the siding, and it's super effective. In fact, that's what happened here. 87 people out of all the things we've just listed, not to keep score on a leaderboard, but the most effective tool we've seen in these lists we've just looked at. 87 people killed from from a fire in a nightclub. It was an immigrant in New York City, Mariel boat lift. 1980 is when this happened. In the Bronx, it was $1 worth of gasoline. He argued with his girlfriend at a nightclub. After purchasing $1 worth of gasoline at a nearby gas station, he returned to the club where he poured the gas over the stairs. He didn't even throw it in a bottle. Just dumped it out, threw a match on it, burned so rapidly patrons did not have time to stop what they were doing and flee. Fire investigators found the dead stopped midlife, like Pompeii with the lava. Feliciano was one of 6 survivors. That was his girlfriend he was arguing with. Went to a gas station across the street and for $1 got a weapon that killed more people than any of the violence that we just looked at. So my point to all of this is not to say gun violence doesn't matter or it's not a bad thing. It's that guns are not what kill people. There are lots of ways to effectively kill people. Guns are scary. They're loud. If you've never shot one, they can be kind of intimidating, which is kind of what I meant by people who are ignorant of it. If you've never owned a gun and you never shot a gun, all you see is on TV when, people like the whole silencer. There's just spraying bullets and like the whole silencer argument they had last month where what if this guy had a silencer? It would not have made a difference. It's not James Bond, super silent. You can stand in a room with many people, fire a silencer. It sounds the same when you have hearing protection and you fire a gun as when you don't have hearing protection and you use a silencer. It's still very loud. It's still very noticeable. All it does is protect your ears from hearing loss. It's not a silencer. It's a suppressor. It does not make it silent. It suppresses sound. Anyway, so that's what I meant. People who don't look at it through a proper lens, it's It's like with any argument. When you have your side picked out that you want to defend to the death and you see an opportunity, and we're all guilty of this on one thing or another, you see something that confirms your bias. We talked about not last week, but the week before. And you go, look, here we go. Evidence right here. Gun legislation. Let's ban these assault weapons with chainsaws on the front of them, because here's a good opportunity to rile up a bunch of frustration and fear to try and pass laws that we've wanted to pass for a long time, regardless of the effects. And they ignore things like the fact that more people were killed in mass killings using trucks and fire than mass shootings with firearms, because that doesn't help to go, he killed a lot of people. I mean, you could have done this with a truck and been more effective, or fire for that matter, but we should look at guns first. Isn't an effective argument.
So why are they objecting to gun violence? That seems like one of the most
Sorry,
basic
what?
questions. Why are they objecting to gun violence then, do you think?
I mean,
so it's
why
not
are they addressing it?
No. Why do those most outspoken about gun control object to gun violence?
Because they're killing people.
Okay, so to your point though, like
Yeah.
why don't they find these things more objectionable? Why aren't they more newsworthy?
Gotcha. Because you're
Is it
saying
just because you can't buy gasoline? No. Because you can't buy trucks without passing a background check? No.
sensational. It's more sensational to say this guy shot a bunch of people. If the guy in Las Vegas had barreled a big old truck through the barricades and was just drove through that crowd of people,
Probably driving
he
drunk.
would have killed intentionally a truck of all by itself, just rolling through that crowd. Can you imagine how many more? 50 plus? No way. 3,000 people crammed in who can't get out anywhere. That would have been far more effective. It's a good thing he did not decide to use a truck or fire, and that he only used a gun in comparison. Obviously, it was not good that he did any of that. But all right, let's look at the chat real quick, because that was a lot of information. But that was me drawing a box around my problem with the gun control debate, is that it is not responsible for the majority of violence. And if you want to ban guns, which are a constitutional right, like I said, some people want to repeal that entirely, they serve for self-defense purposes.
Not responsible for violence. I'd be willing to say 100% of things responsible for violence are people.
Absolutely. You could have all the guns in the world, and if nobody wanted to kill anybody else, nobody would kill anybody else. In fact, if you look at, how many was it? 11,000 people killed with guns every year, like in violence. How many million guns do we have in the U.S. that don't kill anyone every year? It's amazing. It's amazing we only have 11,000 people killed in gun violence when there are millions of guns in the U.S. Wouldn't you say? Isn't that like 1 in every 1,000 guns ever kills someone a year?
I don't know the number.
I guess you'd have to look at. I guess that's every year, and guns aren't just every year. But that was my point.
Also, people want to do something. It's like, what can you do about this?
Yes,
What
they
can
want to
we-
blame. They want to
what
blame someone.
how can you fix it? How can you prevent this in the future?
Well, and unfortunately, there are a lot of far better, more effective options than we need harsher gun, or we need more gun control. The gun control that we have isn't properly implemented. And Trump said it best. I don't quote a lot of the things that he says, but he said this is a mental health issue. Like, if this guy didn't have a gun, do you think he would have not gone in there and enacted violence on these people? Like, that's a legit question. Do you think if he did not have access to a gun, he would not have gone in and tried to hurt anyone?
I honestly don't know. I don't know
That's
anything about it.
speculating, but I'm saying if a guy is that bent on killing indiscriminately people, I don't think not having access to a firearm would stop him. People, obviously their thought is it would slow him down, but we
There
just
is
proved
something-
that theory wrong.
There is something about killing people from a distance that makes it more impersonal and probably easier for people to do. But
I don't know if you read firsthand accounts from
than-
the Sutherville, whatever thing, but it was up close and personal. He was walking pew to pew executing people that were wounded.
then yeah, I would say probably would not.
Would not have faded. He would have gone in with a
He
machete
might have had another.
or gasoline in the doorway.
Well, we can't read minds, but we do have some insight into some of these perpetrators' motivations. And the Japanese guy said, "I don't regret it. I did it on purpose. I think disabled people should go." I mean, from the horse's mouth. Like, just to Matt's point about it being a mental health issue, not a which weapon issue.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I get it.
Absolutely. I mean, and
So we need more mental health control.
yes, yes.
Well, no, maybe not control as treatment. Or discussion about. I'm not sure.
Well, we've talked about this several times in the show, and I don't know specifically. I was looking for more of this guy's background, the shooter's background and history, and I couldn't find much about his family life growing up. But we've talked the last couple episodes about like how important it is to raise people right. Obviously, there are mental health issues that arise from biology, chemical imbalances in the brain, things that you can't help. But environment has a lot to do with that too. I mean, this sounds silly, but I've been watching Criminal Minds recently. A lot of that is based on actual cases of serial killers, and they talk a lot about people's history, their upbringing, their circumstances as a child that turned them into monsters. And this guy fractured his toddler's skull, like from throwing him on the ground. Like, why is that man not in jail, for one, and two, like the red tape, the paperwork not going through properly to make sure that guy doesn't have a gun, a guy who can fracture a toddler's skull. Yeah, so we're about out of time.
Okay, so you mentioned upbringing. I just wanted to bring up a point that there are people who've been through comparably as bad things and did not turn out evil. So I'm just saying we're not blaming people's upbringing on their crimes, but it does contribute.
Blaming their crimes on their upbringing, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not excusing it, going, well, he had a hard life.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? But
we're not saying that.
More as a preventative measure, right?
Yeah. Well,
like we need to pay more attention to the people that we're raising.
Identify, like in Star Trek. I don't watch Star Trek, but I do know there was someone asked Picard about mental people with, or I don't know, something brought up the topic of mental health, and he said that long ago we were able to learn how to identify the seeds of insanity before they became a problem in people. Mm-hmm. So that kind of goal.
Yeah, and how we can stop it from happening in the first place, like for the environmental thing. So, yeah. One other point I wanted to make, and I posted this on Facebook the other day to get opinions on it, but we talked several weeks ago about assault, specifically assault against women with the whole Harvey thing coming out. And I was thinking maybe a good preventative measure for women would be just arm all of them with a handgun, so that every woman over the age of 18 or whatever is just walking around with a pistol in her purse all the time, knows how to use it, is trained, can quick draw that, knows how to reach into her purse, fire right through the bag, kill people. I saw Criminal Minds. I saw that. Agent Prentice had her bag on the bar, and the guy went to reach for his gun, and she had her hand in her purse, just squeezed the trigger right through her bag, shot the guy.
And can keep kids out of the purse.
Yeah, I mean a lock on the purse, or something like that, so that when you're out and you're vulnerable or whatever. But I'm saying people conceal carry all the time and don't kill anyone. But if you just gave every woman a weapon, and every man knew every woman had a weapon and knew how to use it, I think a lot more men would have a lot more respect for women. It's a great equalizer, a pistol. You're like slouching, that's like covering your face. Sorry.
When firearms were first invented, people lamented that, said the bravest, noblest, most chivalrous knight could be laid bare by the dirtiest crook with a firearm,
or the smallest woman defending her life from a chivalrous knight. Yeah, that's why the Colt 45 back in like 1800 was called the Colt Peacemaker. Pull it out and suddenly everybody calms down. That's how it worked back then. Other point, Kevin Spacey. What was his defense of why he almost raped a 14-year-old in his apartment? I was drunk. Sorry, I don't remember. I was drinking. That's an excuse, right? No. A, it's not an excuse, and B, let's get rid of alcohol. How many I think it was 63% of assault crimes. It was up on that list, and I'm not going to bring it right back up now. A majority, more than 50% of assault, the perpetrator was intoxicated. So, not saying it was the cause of it, but it certainly didn't help. So that's my 32 cents about that. Any other thoughts?
No, I'm thoroughly depressed.
Well, like I said, I'm not trying to say, well, you think gun violence is bad. I'm just saying there are things that we can pay attention to that cause more damage, that maybe we need to look at those. And
Prager University did a thing about the women carrying more guns, the great equalizer. I think it's a highly intriguing idea. In general, you talk about statistics and then people just bring up the exceptions. But I'm going to say, in general, men are stronger than women. In general, people won't be as violent if they know the other person has a gun. These generalities seem to, be borne out by the data. So, yeah, no, I think that's a good idea. But I mean, you said over 18. Is that the magic number?
Well, I mean, we let 16-year-olds drive a Suburban down the road with a cell phone in their hand and could kill a dozen people if they run a bus off the road. I mean, we let 16-year-old people have life and death in their hand at 85 miles an hour down the road. So I don't think a properly trained and licensed person with a gun is any more dangerous.
Do you think trucks of peace and Molotov cocktail attacks would go up if gun violence went down due to that, though? Like, those same people, do you think that, if that did happen and gun violence went down because every woman had a gun, that we would see more attacks, the same number of deaths just transferred into different weapons, just transferred to the results of different weapons?
No.
You think just overall deaths would go down?
Well, I think
by the number of gun deaths that we have now, we'd just have that many fewer deaths and the same number of truck deaths and fire deaths.
Well, how do you fight a truck attack?
Exactly. No,
how do you fight a fire attack? It's fire with fire.
Should have fire prohibition.
The Sutherland, Texas shooter was stopped essentially by a guy with a AR-15. So yeah, I'm just saying fighting guns with guns is a possibility. A good person with a gun is the best remedy for a bad person with a gun. So if you take all the guns away, you now have bad people with fire. How do you stop him?
I just think it boils down to, is gun ownership a crime deterrent? Like, if people know gun ownership is up, do crimes go up or do crimes go down?
I believe they would go down.
Interesting point.
You think so?
Beggar
In
Hero
Switzerland.
said, "Oh yeah, sorry."
No, you go.
What you just said, Beggar Hero says, never keep it off your person. Oh, no, sorry. Constantine said, never keep it off your person, your bag full of a gun. Someone can snatch the bag right away. Yes. Beggar Hero. Yeah, right.
Just brought up an image of like a woman with one of those little tiny pistols pulling it out of her bra. Like how women have cash in there sometimes.
One of those 2-shot Derringers. Beggar Hero said, no, just more female on female shooting. I don't think so. Women are a lot more hesitant to use a firearm because it's like violent and like loud. I'm not sure what the word is I'm looking for, but women aren't necessarily like, I'm gonna pull out a gun and shoot. In general, obviously, I'm not talking about
men and women have no differences. The genders are the same, except there's 80 of them. Sorry, just caveat.
Yes, Beggar, I was thinking that, so not everyone.
But those that we have traditionally arbitrarily labeled as women tend to be more peaceful. Yeah, I agree.
Those assigned female at birth.
That's right, assigned. That's the word I was looking for.
All right, so
and we're gonna assign off soon.
Exactly. So that was my basic point, was that I think having guns around is better than having no guns at all and not giving people the power to defend themselves. Women, men, old guy who went out barefoot and shot this guy in his side with his AR-15. I think that's better than trying to just ban all the guns and all the violence will go away. I think we can look at it more intelligently than that. So,
well, when there were no guns, there was a lot less gun violence. Just saying.
I don't.
Was there
when
a lot
there
less
were
violence?
Zero guns?
Was there a lot less
I don't
violence?
know.
Do you know anybody who actually wants all guns banned?
Actually, wants all guns banned. The Young Turks.
Really?
Well, they say they want semi-automatic guns banned. Do you know what that includes?
No.
Almost every gun, muskets, essentially, which is ironic because their whole argument is the Second Amendment was written during times of muskets, so that's all you should be allowed to have. Most handguns these days are semi-automatic. Even revolvers, technically, they're not semi-automatic, but they work in the same fashion where you pull the trigger, it fires, pull the trigger again, it fires, pull the trigger again, it fires. That's a semi-automatic weapon. That is most guns. Bolt action are the only ones that don't do that. Bolt action or pump action shotgun, which is the one Joe Biden said to get, pump action shotgun. But yeah, banning semi-automatic weapons would be almost all guns. Yeah, so that about wraps it up. I appreciate you guys commenting in the chat. I do go back and read all of them so that I don't miss all of your salient points. All of the many. Come on, you know
it's most. There's
kept that
one
way.
most important or most noticeable.
It's too late.
There is.
You have to bring that up next week.
What
are you
bring what up?
pointing at?
My screen.
What's on the screen? I can't see what's on your screen. The Julio Gonzalez thing?
No. I'm sorry. I couldn't see your screen. I didn't know it was up there.
Oh, did you? Oh man. Did
Okay,
you see
we're
the
gonna end
shot?
with this story. Give me. All right, let's look at this.
Tuna ought to be.
What? News from elsewhere? Oh my gosh. Oh wow. I missed a lot of the chat because I hadn't scrolled down. Sorry. Hong Kong activist sentenced for tuna sandwich attack. Did he attack a tuna sandwich, or did he attack with a tuna sandwich?
He attacked with the tuna sandwich.
Oh, okay.
He threw a sandwich at I think a political figure.
Really? We're downgrading from shoes that were thrown at President Bush?
Downgrading?
A
I
tuna
think this is an
sandwich?
upgrade, dude. You can do something with it. What are you gonna do with somebody else's shoe?
I don't
Not
know,
eat it.
man. I don't know. Throwing a tuna sandwich that's foul play.
He doesn't
There's a
regret it.
joke in there.
Yeah, it depends on how old the tuna
If it was a
sandwich is.
chicken salad sandwich. it would
Depending,
be
no, foul as in how old is the tuna
Yeah,
sandwich?
Yeah, yeah.
He's been sentenced 3 weeks.
What was he
3
protesting?
weeks?
What was he
3
protesting?
weeks? Hard labor? They do hard labor over in some of those countries.
Prison.
Oh, prison. Not just prison. No big deal.
Is there anybody sentenced to light labor? Just regular labor?
Yeah, you're gonna have to knit. We're gonna have to knit license plates. I don't know.
Knit license.
Well, that's usually what they do.
really
It's
difficult.
usually what they do in prison. They get paid like 5 cents an hour to make license plates. Let's see, real quick before we close. Beggar Hero says, no, sorry, it's Constantine. I keep seeing Beggar Hero's name. Constantine was the person who said this. My mom always goes on those rants when they talk about female cops and soldiers. Single action revolvers. Yes, well, single action revolvers, most of them work as semi-automatic, as I just said. So unless you have one of those old cowboy ones, my dad has a couple revolvers, 22s that are like you still gotta like pull the hammer back every time. You can't just pull the trigger.
Oh, really?
It is so
Those
hard.
exist?
They're small guns. Yeah, they're small guns, and so they have really skinny hammers, and they like hurt your thumb to try and pull on them, and it's kind of a heavy action. I tried. Like when I was a teenager at the gun range, I tried like doing the fan the pistol thing where you hold the trigger down and then you
It
just,
worked
like,
very well.
No, it freaking like tried to cut my hand open. It just you have to like flatten it first, and it hadn't been done. So that was not it was not a good idea. But yes, those are double actions that pull the hammer and the trigger. Yes, but most that's what I said.
Corrected.
No, that's exactly what I said. Single action revolvers don't, but most
Just
revolvers
say you're wrong. Just
most
admit
revolvers
it.
aren't single action revolvers. It's okay. We've got a record of this. You can go back and look. I wasn't wrong. All right.
Be a good
I
politician.
really, I really appreciate you guys being in the chat. We can't hear, so I don't think you can hear the outro music. I don't know why you can't hear the outro music, but it's there, I promise. So yeah, thanks so much for tuning in this week, guys. I really appreciate the chat in the comment box. If you guys are watching us on Facebook, which it doesn't look like anyone is, if you're watching this after the fact, please do comment below the video. We read those comments and we do address them the next week. There just haven't been a lot of them, which is why you haven't seen us address them. But we will, if there are, I promise. Excuse me. We will. Oh, yep. See, that's why. This is going to be way too loud. And the most important thing you can do, is that loud to you? Sorry, it isn't loud to me. The most important thing you can do is, well, shut off the music while you're playing it. God, gravy. That's all right. There it is again. It's a great song. We'll listen to it twice. Share the show with your friends. Do post it on Twitter. subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Click that little bell so you know when we're live. I do tweet it out, so follow me at NotOnionhead. All three of our Twitters handles.
Onionhead, so what should we follow you?
No, it's called at NotOnionhead. That's why I say the at. They're all in the description down below. And share this around. Make sure we get more people in on the conversation so we can round it out with more intelligent people such as yourselves. Any final thoughts? We got like 10 seconds.
You guys rock. Thanks for coming back.
Yes.
Constantine the Beggar Hero. Any more? Reliability.
All right.
And let us know what you want to talk about, by the way.
Yeah, we are open to suggestion as part of the agreement here. Woo! We'll see you guys next week.